You stayed up until 1 a.m. helping someone move. You covered for a colleague who never said thank you. You sent the message first. Again. You planned the trip, paid more than your share, and held the space for someone who didn't notice the room you were standing in. Nobody asked you to do any of it. And the worst part, the part you haven't said out loud, is that you're exhausted. Not just tired. Exhausted in the way that only happens when you have been giving from somewhere that was already empty. This is Social Behaviour Explained. Every Saturday, we name one invisible pattern running underneath the surface of how people connect, withdraw, and show up for each other. Today, overgiving. Not generosity, not kindness. The specific pattern of giving more than you have, more than was asked, more than anyone will ever return, and the thing actually driving it. Stay with this one. Here is what most people get wrong about overgivers. They assume it is personality. That some people are simply built that way, naturally selfless, wired for generosity. That is not what this is. Overgiving is a strategy. Built, usually early, in response to a very specific fear. The fear that if you stop being useful, you stop being wanted. You gave first because waiting to be asked felt too dangerous. What if nobody asked? What if you offered nothing, and they found quietly that you were not enough, so you got ahead of it? You made yourself indispensable. You became the person who could always be counted on, always called, always relied upon. And it worked. People stayed. What you did not notice was the cost. On Social Behaviour Explained, we call this the safety tax. The giving you do not because you are full, but because you are afraid of what happens the moment you stop. When you give too much, you do not feel generous. Not really. Not after a while. You feel owed. Not consciously. You would never say it, because part of the pattern is convincing yourself you want nothing in return. But underneath the surface, something is accumulating. Every favour, every 1 a.m. conversation, every time you rearranged your life for someone who didn't notice, that goes somewhere. The problem is, the people receiving it never agreed to pay it back. They didn't know they were borrowing. You handed them something they never asked for, and wrote a number on it that they couldn't see. And then one day, they do something small. Cancel plans. Forget something important. And it hits like a wall. That is not about what they just did. That is about everything that came before it. Every invisible invoice arriving at once. On Social Behaviour Explained, we call this the invisible invoice, the debt nobody agreed to, that you have been keeping track of all along. Overgivers have a very particular way of being present, always available, always responsive, always there. But look carefully at what is actually happening. Every time you give without limit, you decide what gets to exist in the relationship and what does not. Your exhaustion does not exist. Your needs absolutely do not exist. What remains is a version of you that is pure function, pure availability, a person so reliably useful that nobody thinks to ask whether you are okay, because you will always say you are fine, and then go home and feel completely alone. This is not connection. It is a performance of connection. And the quiet tragedy is that the people closest to you, the ones you give the most to, often know you the least. Because the real you, the one who needs things, who gets tired, they have never met that person. On Social Behaviour Explained, we call this the disappearing act, not the disappearance of others, yours. Every time you gave what you couldn't afford to give and said nothing. Every time you stayed when you needed to leave and said nothing. You were planting something, not in them, in yourself. The resentment that overgivers carry is not about what the other person took. It is about what you surrendered, what you needed to keep and handed over anyway, and then called it love. The anger, when it finally arrives, always comes in the wrong place, at the wrong person, over something small, because the real source of it is something you have never fully admitted. That you have been treating your own needs as optional for a very long time. On Social Behaviour Explained, we call this the resentment harvest. What grows quietly in the space between what you gave and what you needed to keep. So what do you do with all of this? Not a process, not a plan. This is not the kind of thing that gets solved by following instructions. The shift happens when you are willing to sit with one specific discomfort. The discomfort of someone's disappointment. The safety tax only keeps collecting. As long as you believe that someone's disappointment is a verdict on your worth, the moment you can hold it, not fix it, not immediately give something to make it stop, and discover that you are still standing, the pattern starts to lose its grip. You do not become less generous. You become generous from a different place, not from fear, not from debt, from something that is actually yours to give. That is not a small difference. That is the whole thing. The safety tax, the invisible invoice, the disappearing act, the resentment harvest, 4 patterns running beneath a behaviour the world calls generosity, and that your body has been calling exhaustion for longer than you have admitted. A pattern you can't see runs you. A pattern you can see, you can work with. Every Saturday, we name one pattern. Subscribe, so you don't miss the one that changes something. Drop in the comments which pattern landed hardest. I read everyone. I'll see you Saturday.